Hi, I'm Paul Banis, thegreatdad.com, and I'm here with a new friend, Carol Henry, who's a coach in Toronto, Canada. And she's been a coach for a while after working in higher education and working most recently as a director of professional development for women at Seneca College. And I'm excited to have this conversation because we're going to talk about positive intelligence, which we're both trained as coaches to do. And Carol's going to give some of the background on her experiences so far. So welcome, Carol.
Thanks for having me, Paul. I'm really excited to talk with you.
So I know you've worked with women in before getting into coaching for a long time, helping them develop professionally and live out their true selves. And now you're doing that mostly with women. So you coach mostly women, or you coach men as well?
I coach both, but a lot of the stuff that I have been doing my entire like from the beginning of my work life has been working with, starting with 13-year-old girls, where I was. I did my master's thesis asking the question: if we intervened with these girls, would they make wider choices? Would they choose math, science, and technology in high school if they understood the consequences of not choosing those subjects? So I started way back then trying to open doors for women. Yeah.
I love that approach. I've got a girl, a 21-year-old now, a 17-year-old boy. So I know, we were very careful with sex roles and all that growing up. And you realize that there are some things that are pre-wired in every person, boy or girl, whether it's something that's considered female or considered male. But having that opportunity and letting everybody just choose what's most natural for them is just such great work. Um,
It seems like that's an easy thing, but the societal stuff that comes at us and the stories we tell ourselves from the time we're very young about what we're capable of and what our place is, it makes it quite difficult at 13 or 14 when a girl has all these subliminal messages back there to actually make a choice to hold on to stuff that's hard, whereas boys know they must.
Yeah, I remember at one time, I can't remember what presidential election it was, but saying something to my daughter about the presidential election and her saying, well, girls can't be president. And as a father, that just like breaks your heart. When your kids are little, you want them to feel like the world is wide open, and for her already be setting boundaries like that because she hadn't seen another woman in that role is that is hard. So in working with these women and the men that you coach with, what do you see as the greatest challenge that they face, or is there a common theme to a lot of the things that you
there is, Paul. I feel like and this just seems to permeate everything, and it goes back to those 13-year-old girls. We tell ourselves stories. Our brains are so capable and are managing so much material and so many messages every day, every hour, every minute, that things get a little bogged down in there. And so the brain has ways of making shortcuts. And that is, we compare what's happening today with what's happened all along. And we've got all these memories in our limbic system: emotional memories, smell memories, sound memories. And we make up stories to make sense of our world and our place in it and what we're capable of. And those stories really, really either inspire us or hold us back, because they really are part of how you make choices. And we get stuck in ruts because of that. So it's really important to understand where we're coming from. What have we been telling ourselves, and examining that and seeing if it's useful from one year to the next, from one decade to the next, as who we want to become.
Oh, that's certainly a core thing that we're working with in positive intelligence, is trying to interrupt those stories and all that brain chatter that's constantly giving us these messages, mostly negative, mostly creating frustration, anxiety, blame, shame, all those horrible things that make us feel crummy. and we'll get into the positive intelligence thing because I'm really excited to hear about what work you've been doing. But first, I just want to touch on something that you also do in your practice, because I think it touches on positive intelligence, and that's something that's called conversational intelligence. I must admit, I had not heard about that until we were introduced. And I'd love you to hear a little bit about how that works.
Conversational intelligence was developed by Judith E. Glaser, and she was an anthropologist. And basically, what she discovered over time was our words create worlds. And our words are really coming from those stories that we tell ourselves, from the conclusions we've drawn throughout our lives. And I'm going to say it's unfortunate today. Our brains default to negative. Our brains default to protecting ourselves, so that in the first 0.07 seconds, like the bat of an eyelash, our brains have the habit of making a very quick snap decision about whether, is this friend or foe? Is this with me or not? And dependent on that quick decision and the memories it draws upon, your brain begins to emit, it starts off a biochemical hormonal response, so that when things are negative, so in the old days when you rounded the corner and there was a saber-toothed tiger, you went into fight, flight, freeze, and appease, and your brain accommodated that with all kinds of hormonal spraying of cortisol so that you could run really, really fast. Well, that response is hardwired, and we have to deal with that today. And unfortunately, all our stressors, although they're not saber-toothed tigers, our brain interprets them as life-death situations.
Yeah.
And so we have to learn how to interrupt that response so that we can be in the prefrontal cortex, the young part of our brain where there's strategy, empathy, partnering, collaborating. It's the wise part of our brain. It's the part that actually solves problems, taps into creativity. So where our brain will naturally want to go to this protect, we have to teach it how to actually evaluate the reality of today. And conversational intelligence is all about switching parts of your brain where distrust is back here in your limbic system, the old part of your brain. Trust happens in your prefrontal cortex. And we really can't connect and partner and collaborate and be creative from back here.
Yep.
You got to be up in the front part of your brain.
Yep. Yeah, I'd not to get too deep into current events, but I think a lot of the discussions we're having on race today are related to really old memories of fear of the outsider and that immediate response, and certainly being aware of that and not just letting it go and go into the negative side, but being aware that your brain is wired to have a certain response to the other, and you have to fight that as a modern individual. Suppressing that and moving on to more positive thoughts, trust being primary, along with empathy, are just the key to what happens in our next evolution here, I think.
Yeah, and I also want to add in, the experience that we are undergoing with the pandemic is the huge piece of this is uncertainty. And the brain goes to the old spot in uncertainty. It can't manage uncertainty. It's a very, very fearful place.
Yeah.
And that's what all of us are struggling with.
Yeah.
And I think the people that are deniers of what's going on, that's their way of dealing with uncertainty. They want to go to a certain spot so that they can feel more peaceful and at ease. But
yeah, well, it's this binary thinking that gets us all in a lot of trouble all the time. So using that, I guess, moving on then to positive intelligence. Positive intelligence it sounds like it takes a lot of those same principles that the brain maybe is wired to go one way, but we do, or at least I hope you and I do, believe in a certain amount of free will in this situation. And in positive intelligence, we learn that there is a possibility of rewiring the brain to waking up in the moment, realizing that something is wrong. You're feeling a bad emotion. Maybe you feel it physically, or you just know you're aware. You've trained yourself to be aware. And at that moment, using some techniques to change the script and move to a different place and different reaction. What has been what are your top feelings about it as a program versus what you've learned in conversation or as an add-on to conversational intelligence?
I think the thing that I am most impressed with the positive intelligence is that it is a practice. Um, and when people choose to engage in a practice, that by nature is a long-term commitment.
Right.
When we coach people and teach them about how the brain works and give them little cheat sheets on, you do this to build trust, and if you do this, you're going to not be inclusive. Those are all things up here. When you develop a practice, it's something that you learn how to embody. I think you get clear on the fact that we have a choice in life. We have lots of choices in life, but the very first and foremost important choice we make is interpreting how we interpret what's going on in our lives. So in and of themselves, events are neutral. They just happen. It's the meaning that we place on things that takes us down either a negative path or a positive path, a path of resistance or a path of ease and flow. So knowing about that choice, I notice I've been doing positive intelligence for a year, practicing it. You still have, you're still lured, you're seduced by the negative. The brain prefers the negative. They know what to do with it. It's a very limited reaction. Mm-hmm. But once we understand the seduction, and that the seduction is a lie in many ways, it's a short-term fix. Whereas when you develop a practice, you're developing your muscles to be able to choose, to take a moment and disengage and choose. And I think that takes practice. Yeah. And if we don't practice, we quickly go back to the old ways because that's how we're really hardwired.
Yeah, that's a really important point. That positive intelligence is kind of sold as a 6 or 7 week long program, but it's really, I don't think we can stress enough that it's really just an introduction to this practice. And the people who are really, you will see a change. And I mean, in my materials, I guarantee, 100% guarantee the program that you will see a meaningful change in your perspective after this 6-7 weeks. You will have an experience, but the ones who really get the most out of it are the ones who keep on doing it on their own or with an ongoing coaching program. I offer it free with my coaching services just because I think it's so important as part of ongoing coaching to know the terminology and the practice to be able to recognize these saboteurs and stop them when they come up in your life. So can you give us some anecdotes about your clients and I mean, I don't want to violate any confidentiality, but the kind of clients you talk to, what kind of experiences they're having through the program and after the program?
There's people who come in and I always ask, why are you here? Like, what is it that you really want? And lots of people have anxiety. Yeah. So I'm finding a lot of people with anxiety are really attracted because they've tried a lot of different things, and you can't think your way out of anxiety. Anxiety is an internal state, and you can't think your way out of it.
No, the thinking just gets it worse, right?
That's right.
That's the problem.
That's right. And that's one of the beautiful things about positive intelligence. The more rational you are, the harder it is to let go of the thoughts and allow yourself to experience something on a cellular level, on a gut level, and to pay attention to that. So anyhow, I have people who come to me with anxiety, and I have this one woman who she's an artist, she's brilliant, she's creative, but she's been suffering. Excuse me. She's been suffering for a long time with her anxiety. And when she did PQ, people, you start into the program and you're really gung-ho and you're doing your PQ reps as prescribed. And
it does take about 15 minutes a day of practice. You've got to watch a video. It's not onerous, but it does take a certain amount of you got to focus on it.
It takes commitment, and part of PQ is about interrupting what you're doing,
Right.
to take the 2 minutes to disengage
2 whole minutes.
and almost like refuel.
Right.
So anyhow, what's happened for this woman is absolutely brilliant. I mean, partway through the program, she kept going, I don't get it. I don't get it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And this is very typical of how she approaches things anyhow. So it is her regular way of being. And when she realized that she was playing the victim, and that victim had taken over her identity over the years. And in positive intelligence, suddenly she saw that she could actually break that tie, and she could put the victim piece over in the side and realize that wasn't who she was.
Right.
And she explains it that she used to walk forward and there'd be a rabbit hole, and she would fall into that rabbit hole and get dragged down into the vortex and then be incredibly anxious for days. What she found was with PQ, she learned enough how to detach as soon as she saw the rabbit hole.
Right.
And that rolled out that she learned how to step around the rabbit hole. Didn't mean it wasn't calling her, but she knew how to make some distance and make a different choice. And the most beautiful thing she said after that was, I do not wake up in the middle of the night with that hum of anxiety going since I do my PQ practice. Well, who could get anything more than that? Like, what an incredible gift.
Yeah. 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 I think we all know what mind chatter is and some spectrum, and some people, a lot of mine disappeared after I had kids because I just didn't have room for the kids and all that mind chatter. But for the people who suffer from it, when you say mind chatter or those voices in your head, inner critic, the inner judge, all those things, some people just go, oh my God, you're talking just to me. I mean, for them, it's just this cacophony constantly of all these voices and completely confusing, and then fuels their anxiety as well. So that is a great story. So what I like to do in this series on positive intelligence, I like to do a demonstration of a what we call a PQ set of reps, which Carol is generously volunteered to try and do. In the program, they're programmed into an app that you have on your phone. So you get them in the gym or you get them as a daily exercise. So that's all done for you. But as the program develops, more and more coaches are thinking of their own or realizing it's nice to have different voices because the one in the app is a guy. And so I like to do this. So the idea behind it is just that what you're trying to do during this 2 minutes or so is to stop your mind from thoughts. So if you are concentrating on one thing, your mind doesn't go to these other thoughts. And during this 2 minute period, you'll realize that your mind does want to go off. It does want to continue to have thoughts, but the idea is to try to understand that the thought is there and then stop it and bring it back for a second. So are you ready, Carol? Can we do something about 2 minutes? What would be best? Would you want me to tell you when 2 minutes is up, or would you like to just do it organically and get it about 2 minutes?
Well, no, I'll try and keep it within 2 minutes. I'll try and have a timer. I don't know. I do want to put a caveat in there, and that's from all that I've learned, the only people who can really keep those thoughts away are the monks that have been doing it for years and years and years. And yes, we want to clear our mind, but I think that the thing that PQ is really trying to teach us is how to command your mind. So if the thoughts are there, it's about noticing them, letting them go gently and coming back, and not being angry with yourself for having thoughts. We're not failing with that.
It's not a test.
No, not a test. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna close my eyes and leave myself on camera. I think you're gonna take yourself off camera, but begin when you're ready.
Yes, I am off camera. So please sit comfortably with your spine straight and relaxed. Your head is straight, your chest is open, and put your feet flat on the floor so that you can ground yourself. And when you're ready, and if you're comfortable, close your eyes. We're going to begin by doing some PQ reps with your sense of touch. Take 2 fingers, one on each hand, and rub them gently against each other with such attention that you can actually feel the fingertip ridges on both fingers. Now, rub all of the fingertips of one hand gently against the fingertips of the other hand, and then slowly move them down the palm of your other hand. Notice all the sensations on your hand. Where is it soft? Where is it rough? Focus deeply on the feelings in your hands. Now, put your right hand on your belly and take a very, very, very deep breath and let it out slowly. Notice your hand going up and the gentle rising and falling of your stomach with the big, deep breath. Now let your breathing go back to its normal. In and out at your own pace. And as you do this, notice what you're thinking. If you have some thoughts, let them out. Gently release them and focus on your belly going up and down. Now take your hands and put them beneath your nose. I want you to feel your breath on your fingertips. Notice the temperature and sensation of the air each time you take a breath in and out. Let's stay there for a moment and notice the breath on your fingers. Let go of any thoughts you might be having. When you catch yourself in thought, don't worry. This is normal. Just let them go and refocus on the feeling of the air coming in and out on your fingertips. Now, I want you to bring your attention back to your breath. And if it helps, put your hand on your stomach and notice the rising and falling of your stomach and your chest. Notice your thoughts. And then let them go. And gently bring your attention back to your breath. Ease and flow. In and out. And when you're ready, take your time and then open your eyes very, very slowly. And notice how you're feeling. Thank you.
That was very good, Carol. I really appreciate that. For those of you who do meditation, you'll notice a lot of similarities between that a guided meditation, and they are very similar. The real big thing here is integrating them into your day, because some people who do a meditation in the morning, some people can hold that positive energy throughout the day, but a lot of people complain that by the time they get to work, they forgot the meditation, even though they felt so good during the meditation, it disappears. By doing this several times a day, you kind of feel that overall.
Yeah, when I'm working with the groups on positive intelligence, I often hear, "Oh, I only got them all done at 4 o'clock." And when I was doing it too, that's just what we allow to happen. Remember, it's our choice. Because really, we do get up to go to the bathroom. We do have drinks of water. We do switch our attention throughout our workday. This is about intentionally doing it, because the minute we notice negativity, and that's one of the big things we're trying to help people see in our courses, is that noticing that low grade negativity before it takes over, before it hijacks us, is the trick. And that's why we want to interrupt our days. We want to learn how to have command of our mind and switch it from the negative to the positive, so that we can engage the sage rather than be run by our saboteurs.
There are all kinds of different of these exercises, and they really are that short amount of time, or even I think even slightly shorter in some cases, but they can be all the way up. I mean, I know some people will do a half an hour fully of them, which it turns into more of like a meditation. So
Yes.
This has really been a great conversation with you, Carol. It's confirmed a lot of things that I've been thinking about with my clients, and I'm glad we share a lot of the same perspectives and experiences, because it just goes to show how powerful the program is. So your coach offerings can be found at carolhenrycoaching.com, and I'll put that in the notes.
That's right.
On webinars on leadership. Is that on fearless leadership? Is that what the webinars are mostly focused on?
Well, my big program is Fearless Leadership for Women. And basically what that integrates is positive intelligence, conversational intelligence, and knowing what you bring to the leadership table, and combining that so that you can have confidence and sense strongly in who you want to be as a leader, rather than the story you've been telling yourself since you were a little kid.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for your time. It's Paul Bance with GreatDad.com. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Paul. Lovely being here.